The year was 2483. Space had changed. Long ago, humans thought reaching the moon was the highest achievement. Now they were deep in the Andromeda expanse, far from Earth, surrounded by stars no one had ever named. Floating in orbit around a dead star was Unity Point, the largest neutral space station ever built. It was a place for peace, trade, and diplomacy. But today, peace was not the feeling in the air. Captain James Carter stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, Earth's newest and most advanced ship. It looked like a standard cruiser from the outside, sleek, gray, silent. But inside it was different. It held technologies Earth had kept hidden for years. Even the crew didn't know everything it could do. Carter was a man of quiet strength. At 39, he had spent more than half his life in space. His face showed calm, not because he didn't feel pressure, but because he had trained himself to hide it. His dark eyes moved slowly across the control panels, checking every system. His hands stayed behind his back. He did not speak much, but when he did, his crew listened. "All systems stable," said Lieutenant Rios, his second in command. She sat to his right, alert and precise. "Hold position," Carter replied. "Let them come to us." Outside, the stars shifted. The first alien ship arrived. It belonged to the Zarnathi Empire. Massive and brutal, it looked like a flying fortress. Red lights ran along its hull. Its engines roared as it parked near Unity Point. This was the ship of Supreme Commander Ursorak, one of the most feared military leaders in the galaxy. "Zarnathi flagship in position," Rios reported. Carter gave a nod. Soon after, more ships came. One after another, they arrived, each belonging to a different alien race. The crystalline Ellerin, the insect-like Dravari, the shape-shifting Maltharan, and the scaled and silent Runari. Each ship was larger than Earth's vanguard. Each one looked like it could destroy a moon. "They're showing off," said Rios quietly. "They're trying to," Carter said. Unity Point's docking bays lit up as the ships lined into position. The summit was about to begin. Every alien empire sent its top commander. These leaders were not diplomats. They were war heroes, fleet masters and conquerors. They had come not just to talk, but to size up each other. And they had all noticed that Earth's ship was the smallest. The crew on the Vanguard watched as live feeds from the docking platforms came in. Giant alien captains stepped off their ships with loud stomps, glowing armor, and armed guards. In contrast, Captain Carter stepped off the Vanguard alone. No guards, no armor, just his black uniform, and the quiet confidence in his walk. As he entered the hall at Unity Point, the alien leaders turned. Some frowned, others smirked. They expected Earth to be nervous, weak, afraid. Carter gave them no reaction. He walked to the table at the center and took his seat. The summit room was round, made of smooth white metal and glass. The ceiling was a dome of clear crystal, showing the dead star above. It felt cold inside, like a place where warmth had been forgotten. One by one, the other leaders sat. Sorak sat directly across from Carter. His eyes were red, his armor black with gold spikes. He leaned forward and smiled, a cruel, confident smile. "So Sorak said, the humans have come." Carter didn't answer. He didn't need to. Not yet. The others laughed quietly. They didn't know that the smallest ship in the fleet held the biggest secret. The stage was set, the storm was building, and Captain James Carter was ready. The summit room inside Unity Point grew tense. Lights dimmed to a soft blue. The dead star beyond the glass ceiling gave off a dull glow, like a ghost watching from the past. Around the wide circular table sat the 6 commanders, 5 alien leaders and 1 human. Captain James Carter sat still, hands folded on the table. He looked relaxed, but his eyes were sharp, scanning every movement. He listened, observed, waited. The first to speak was Commander Threx of the Dravari. His insect-like body twitched with excitement. His voice clicked and buzzed through a translator device. "Let us begin," Threx said. "But first we should understand the strength at this table. I will start." With a wave of his clawed hand, a projection appeared over the table. It showed his fleet, 20 thick, dark ships with long stingers and energy cannons on all sides. In the last cycle, Threx continued. My ships crushed the rebels of the Jackson Belt in less than an hour. No losses on our side. Complete control restored. Some of the commanders nodded in approval. Captain Carter remained still. Next it was Admiral Sierra of the Ellerin. Her form was tall, glassy and glowing. She spoke in a voice that echoed like wind through crystal. Our ships do not need weapons to conquer, she said. Our minds do the work. Last month we disabled a pirate armada using only mental wave pulses. Not a single shot fired. She smiled, her face smooth like polished stone. The others murmured their praise. Carter leaned slightly back in his chair. His expression didn't change. Then came the Maltheron leader, Chancellor Vale. His body shimmered like liquid, constantly shifting. His voice was soft, almost polite. Power is not always in numbers, he said. It is in fear. We arrived in the Loran sector. The enemy surrendered before we landed. They knew what we were capable of. His projection showed images of cities simply opening their gates before battle even began. After him, the Ronari general, Garrick, spoke only a few deep words. We do not boast. Our work speaks. His projection showed a single battle, silent, brutal, over in seconds. Ronari ships moved like shadows, fast and deadly. There was no need for more words. And then Supreme Commander Zorak stood. He did not project anything at first. He simply rose to his full height. His black and gold armor clanked with every step as he walked slowly around the table. When the galaxy hears the name Zarnathi, they bow, Zorak said. Not out of respect, out of survival. Now his projection appeared. It showed battles, explosions, whole planets falling. Armadas burned into nothing. I bring not just weapons but a message. I do not wait. I do not ask. I take what I need, and those who stand in my way. He stopped behind Captain Carter's chair, are simply removed. The room was silent. All eyes turned to Carter. Zorak stared down at him, expecting fear, maybe even a retreat, but Carter didn't move. Slowly he looked up at Zorak. Calm, steady, finished. Carter asked. Zorak's smile twitched. Then he walked back to his seat. The silence hung in the air like a blade. Then Threx chuckled, breaking the tension. And now he said, we wait to hear what the humans bring. The other commanders turned to Carter. Yes, said Vale, smiling faintly. Where is Earth's power? Where are your victories? Carter looked around the table. He spoke with quiet strength. We didn't come to brag. We came for peace. Zorak laughed loudly. Peace or fear? No, Carter said. We have no fear, and we don't need to prove anything, unless you insist. A flicker of curiosity passed through the room. Garrick, silent until now, raised one scaled brow. Are you saying Earth has power? He asked. Carter replied with only 4 words. You'll see soon enough. Zorak narrowed his eyes. I hope for your sake. That's true, because right now your ship looks like a scout vessel among titans. Captain Carter looked toward the ceiling. The stars still shimmered through the glass. So many lights, so many eyes watching, but he wasn't worried. The Vanguard wasn't here to match anyone's pride. It was here to end it. Captain James Carter returned to the Vanguard without saying another word. He walked calmly through the polished hallways of Unity Point, as if the insults from the alien commanders meant nothing, and in truth, they didn't. He had expected them, planned for them. His ship waited in silence outside the station. Compared to the massive alien warships parked around it, the Vanguard looked small and unimpressive, but looks were deceiving. The other commanders didn't know what Earth had been working on in secret labs deep beneath the planet's surface for the last 20 years. Only a few on the Vanguard knew its true power, and even they hadn't seen it all. As Carter stepped aboard, Lieutenant Rios greeted him at the docking bay. How did it go? She asked, though she already knew. Exactly as expected, Carter said. They think we're weak. Rios frowned. They won't stop pressing us. Commander Zorak wants a reaction. He'll get one, Carter replied. At the right time, they walked together to the bridge. The crew stood ready, focused. No alarms, no rush, just quiet control. Carter liked it that way. Status report, he said. All systems green, said the operations officer. Stealth shields active, main weapons offline. Power cores holding steady. Good, Carter said. Maintain current position, no aggressive movement. Not yet. Outside, the alien ships floated like silent giants. The Drovari ship spun slowly, its weapons shifting and locking into place. The Ellerin ship glowed softly, its crystal hull humming with power. The Zarnathi dreadnought, massive and armored, blocked out a section of the stars with its bulk. They were not just showing off, they were waiting, watching Earth's ship, trying to provoke it. Inside the summit chamber, tensions were rising again. We need to establish fleet rankings, Rio Sarak said during the next meeting. If war breaks out, we must know who leads and who follows. He looked directly at Carter, and who stays out of the way. Vale nodded, pretending to be fair. Yes, power must be clearly shown, for peace to hold. Carter simply looked at them, and if power is quiet, Threx clicked in amusement, then it's not power. The room fell into its usual rhythm. Arrogance, boasts, thinly veiled threats. But Carter remained patient. He knew something they didn't, that Earth didn't need to talk. That night, back on the Vanguard, Carter stood alone on the observation deck. Through the glass he could see Unity Point's hull lights blinking, and beyond that, the dead star glowing faintly. The alien ships loomed nearby like wolves around a campfire. He tapped a small device on his wrist. Engineering, he said. A voice answered. Yes, sir. Prepare demonstration systems, Carter said. Do not activate. Just be ready. Yes, Captain. He closed the channel and stood in silence for a while. Down below in the ship's hidden levels, engineers moved in silence. They accessed systems few had ever seen. One panel displayed the ship's core glowing with a soft blue light, steady and powerful. Another screen showed the location of every alien ship in range, every possible angle, every weak point. Lieutenant Rios came to stand beside Carter. They think they're circling prey, she said. Carter shook his head slowly. No. They're circling a storm, and when it hits they'll understand. She gave a quiet nod. Back inside Unity Point, Supreme Commander Zorak paced his private quarters. He was angry. He didn't like silence. He didn't trust calm men like Carter. He wanted noise. He wanted fear. He wanted Earth to react, to do something foolish. He sent a message to the other alien commanders. Tomorrow, he wrote, we force their hand. The message was short, but the meaning was clear. The pressure was building. Earth was being pushed to the edge. The others believed that if you didn't shout your strength, you had none. But Captain Carter believed something else, something he had learned not through war but through silence. The strongest voice is often the last one heard. The next morning, Unity Point felt heavier. The lights in the summit chamber seemed colder. The voices of the alien commanders carried a sharper edge. Something had changed. Captain James Carter entered the hall with the same calm steps as always. He took his seat without a word, but today he noticed something different. The looks in their eyes. There was no more amusement, no more polite laughter. Now they stared at him with growing impatience, and something close to contempt. Supreme Commander Shorak stood up, his armor clicking as he moved to the center of the room. This summit has wasted enough time, he said loudly, addressing everyone. We came here to form a peace agreement, but peace requires order, and order must be based on strength. He turned to face Carter directly. Earth claims to be ready to join the accord, but so far you have shown us nothing. No ships, no victories, no technology, just a single cruiser that looks like a patrol vessel. Why are you even here? The room was silent. Carter didn't respond. Shorak's voice grew harder. You want a seat at this table? Then show us something. Or leave. Vale of the Maltharan leaned forward, his liquid form pulsing faintly. We've been patient, Captain Carter, but trust must be earned, especially when dealing with a species as inexperienced as yours. Commander Threx of the Dravari clacked his mandibles. Perhaps they hoped to hide behind words instead of firepower. Even Admiral Sira of the Ellerin, who had remained neutral until now, spoke. We cannot risk imbalance. If Earth brings weakness to the accord, it puts all of us at risk. Carter looked around the room. His face didn't change. His voice, when it came, was calm and steady. I came here to avoid war, not to impress you. Shorak slammed his gauntlet on the table. Then you failed, because all I see is a coward hiding behind silence. He stepped forward. You want to avoid war? Fine. Surrender your ship. Disarm your fleet. Accept Earth's place beneath us, and we'll let your planet keep its skies. The air in the chamber seemed to freeze. Rios, watching through the secure feed aboard the Vanguard, clenched her fists. The crew stood tense. Engineers in the lower decks paused, waiting for a command. Everyone could feel it. The line had been crossed. Carter slowly stood. His voice was quiet, but every word hit with weight. You've all shown what you have. You've displayed your fleets. You've bragged about victories. You've threatened my world. He paused, then continued. But now I'll show you what Earth is. He touched the small device on his wrist and gave a single word. Begin. Back aboard the Vanguard, the ship responded instantly. Its hull shimmered as hidden panels opened. Energy shields activated, surrounding the entire ship in a soft, glowing field. From beneath its sleek surface, massive weapon arrays emerged quietly, without fanfare. Antimatter cannons, graviton pulse launchers, rail cores designed to pierce moons. In the span of seconds, the Vanguard no longer looked like a small cruiser. It looked like the future of warfare. From the bridge, Rios gave the next order. Run demonstration sequence. The Vanguard pulsed once. A single wave of invisible energy burst outward, touching every alien ship within range. No damage, no explosions, but every weapon on those ships went offline. Silently, safely, completely. Back in the summit hall, alarms buzzed in the earpieces of every alien commander. Their officers were calling them, confused, alarmed. Shorak's face twisted. What have you done? Carter stepped forward. You came here expecting noise, he said. But Earth built something better, something smarter, something that doesn't need to shout. He looked at Shorak in the eye. We came prepared. The silence in the room was deeper than ever before. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the ever-smiling Vale had lost his grin. At that moment they all saw it. Earth wasn't behind them in power. Earth had simply been quiet, watching, waiting. Shorak's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Captain Carter turned and walked away. There was nothing left to say. For a few seconds, Unity Point was frozen in time. No one moved. No one spoke. The great alien commanders, who just moments ago had boasted of crushing fleets and silencing star systems, now stared in disbelief at the human captain standing before them. Outside, the Vanguard hovered calmly in space, surrounded by 5 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, now powerless. Its form had changed. Where there once had been smooth gray plating and simple lines, there were now sleek weapon systems, glowing faint blue, shield generators humming softly, and an energy core pulsing at its heart. The alien ships drifted in silence. Their weapon controls were dead. Power systems were locked out. Targeting sensors had been scrambled without damage. Earth's ship had disabled them all in seconds, without firing a single shot. Inside the summit hall, Supreme Commander Zorak stood stiff, his fists clenched, his eyes locked on Captain Carter. This is a trick, Zorak growled, but even he didn't believe his own words. No trick, Carter replied quietly. You asked for a demonstration, we gave you one. Threx of the Dravari clicked nervously, trying to reconnect with his command ship. Our weapons, not responding, backup systems offline. Admiral Sarah of the Ellerin stared at the projection of the Vanguard. Her usually calm voice cracked. This level of control, it's not possible. We've never seen anything like this. Chancellor Vale, normally smooth and composed, remained silent for once. His shifting form held still, as if afraid to move. General Garak of the Runari, the only one who had not mocked Earth during the summit, simply said, You were never behind us. You were waiting. Carter gave him a single nod. In truth, Earth had been underestimated for decades. Most of the galaxy believed humans were still catching up, slow, cautious, always talking about peace. What they hadn't seen was what happened when humans prepared in silence. The Vanguard had been in development for over 20 years, built with technology that didn't rely on brute force alone. Its systems weren't just weapons, they were smarter, faster, built to disarm instead of destroy. Earth had studied the mistakes of the galaxy's strongest fleets and made something better, something different. "You all brought fear to the table," Carter said, his voice even. "We brought control." He stepped closer to the center of the room, now the undeniable focus of every eye. "Earth does not want war," he continued, "but we will not be bullied into silence. We don't measure strength by how loud we speak. We measure it by how well we listen and how well we prepare." Zorak's rage flared, but he held himself back. The fury in his eyes could burn a star, but even he knew what would happen if he made the wrong move now. His dreadnought was powerless. His threats were hollow. "You said we didn't belong here," Carter said. "But I say this, Earth is not here to follow, and we are not here to dominate. We are here to stand." He turned to face the others. "We believe peace is still possible, but only if it's based on truth. And the truth is your strength isn't the only kind that matters anymore." The silence that followed was long, heavy. Every alien leader sat back in their chair, eyes lowered, thoughts racing. No one laughed. No one interrupted. Eventually, Admiral Sarah spoke. "What do you propose?" Carter's reply was simple: a real accord, based on equal respect, not fear. Back on the Vanguard, the systems returned to normal. The ship's weapons retracted, shields dimmed. The power pulsed softly once again, as if nothing had happened, but everything had changed. The galaxy had just seen something new, a ship that didn't need to fire to win, a captain who didn't need to shout to be heard, and a planet that had quietly risen, ready, unwilling to be ignored. In the summit chamber, the balance of power had shifted, not through war, but through one clear, undeniable message: Earth had arrived. The mood inside Unity Point had changed. The same commanders who once filled the summit chamber with arrogance and pride now sat quieter, more thoughtful. No one interrupted. No one made demands. The air that once buzzed with tension now carried something unfamiliar: respect. Captain James Carter stood calmly at the head of the table. The moment he had waited for had arrived, but he felt no triumph. This wasn't a victory to celebrate. It was a lesson that had finally been heard. Supreme Commander Gurak leaned back in his chair, his armor heavy and stiff. He stared at Carter, no longer with fury but with something closer to calculation. "I misjudged you," Gurak said at last. The words came slowly, like metal scraping across stone. "I believed humans were soft, too small to matter. I was wrong." Carter gave him a small nod. "You weren't the only one." Commander Threx of the Dravari sat twitching slightly, uncomfortable in the silence. "How long has Earth had this kind of power?" Carter looked at him evenly. "Long enough, but we chose not to use it unless we had to." Admiral Sarah, still glowing faintly, looked at the others. "This changes everything. If Earth can disable fleets without firing a shot, we need to rethink the entire accord." Chancellor Vale, smooth again but humbled, spoke next. "Perhaps this is what the accord needed. A reminder. Power doesn't have to roar." Karak of the Renari gave a deep nod. "Earth has earned its place, not through fear, through control, through discipline." The new treaty discussions began, this time on equal footing. The tone had shifted completely. No threats were made. No ships were mentioned. Instead, the focus turned to cooperation, shared defense, open knowledge, peaceful exploration. Captain Carter contributed little talk, but when he spoke, everyone listened. His words were short and clear. He did not argue. He did not posture. But his presence alone carried weight now. Outside the station, the Vanguard floated silently. Its systems were powered down, weapons locked. The ship looked like it had returned to rest. But every commander in that room now knew the truth. It was more than a ship. It was a signal. Earth would no longer be overlooked. Later, aboard the Vanguard, Carter stood once more on the observation deck. Lieutenant Rios joined him. The stars outside blinked quietly. Peaceful. Vast. It worked, Rios said. They listened. Carter didn't smile, but his voice was lighter. They had to. Not because we forced them. Because we made it impossible to ignore the truth. Rios looked out at the stars. Do you think it will last? The peace? Carter didn't answer right away. He watched the slow movement of the alien ships, now forming a wide protective circle around Unity Point, not out of fear but out of unity. It will, he said finally. As long as we lead the right way. Rios nodded. Quiet strength. Carter looked at her. The only kind that endures. Behind them the Vanguard continued to drift, silent and calm. The galaxy had seen its power, but more importantly, it had seen its purpose, and for the first time in a long time there was hope, not just for Earth but for all.